Ladies, gentlemen, am I often forgotten, but certainly not by me. Crowns of Loyalty, welcome to the channel and welcome to another episode of Trillionaire. In this episode, we will be hitting 10 bill on the cash stack, which is the minimum amount needed to have this go from a green stack to a blue stack. Now, over the past few weeks, I have been busy updating other guides because of combat updates such as the FSOA nerf and other things like piercing shot, kind of changing range rotations and things like that. However, I've worked through a majority of those, so I think I can chill out on making guides for a little bit and focus on the important thing, which is getting a bunch of GP. Now, when we finished off episode 1 of this series, I was at around 3 to 3.1 bill, I believe, and now we're at 5.1 bill. Now, during these couple of weeks of testing for guides, testing rotations, going to bosses, I did get quite a few drops, and I was playing around with a lot of rotations and whatnot. I usually put, I'd say, at least 3 to 5 hours of testing into most guides before I go ahead and record them, and I usually do this on stream, which will be linked in the description below. However, we did get a couple drops in the past few weeks to kind of bump us up on GP, and I've also made a couple purchases, so I'm just going to roll a little drop montage real quick. Hopefully y'all enjoy it. Okay, I finally got 106 scales, Jesus Christ.
Yeah!
Nice.
Alrighty, hopefully y'all enjoyed that little montage there, and it got us up to 5.1 bill so far, and I did also go ahead and buy a flanking swap for magic. Now that we don't have a penalty for dual wield, you can G-conk into a deep flank or regular flank, and it's to pay off pretty nicely at a couple places. So I went ahead and just tossed it on 1890. I didn't want to go all out for an Imperium core. I thought that was a little bit ridiculous, but we now have this setting in the bank, and while I have the bank open, right now soul dies are pretty cheap. At time of recording, it is July 14th. Kind of tempted, honestly, because I have this Barrows set for Elite Dungeons, and this armor set and this armor set for just doing kind of normal PVM has been undyed for as long as I can remember. And so I was thinking, I might as well do the other cheap green dye to have the armor sets kind of matching, but if you have better ideas for what I should do with these armor sets, feel free to leave it in the comments below. But as you probably noticed, I was doing a lot of Elite Dungeon 1. I have slowly been pushing the amount of Elite Dungeon 1. I'm now up to about 1300 solo, and this number is going to go quite a bit higher. And as you can see, I'm almost at 20k scales. Now, the max number of scales you can have for an Elite Dungeon item, or kind of any item like this, Draconic energy counts, Tectonic energy counts, I believe Dark Nihilus goes up to this number, but it is 65.5k roughly as a max number for this, compared to something like Telos, which is only 250. Most drop logs, 250 is the max items you can have on a log for like Grims or Blights or Mushroom. Or if we go to Raksha, if you had 250 Grickos, that would be the max before the log just completely stops counting any drops you get afterward. And so for Telos specifically, there's a couple streamers out there who have been going for the max orb set, which is 250 each, and have successfully completed it. I believe there's even a couple actual nutcases out there going for 250 on every single item here, which is ridiculous, but more power to those people who can. And so I kind of wanted to do something like that, but for myself, so I chose ED1 because I find it the most enjoyable to kind of just run through as a dungeon, and it is also the most consistent in terms of GP, so I will eventually have this ancient scale number shoot all the way up to the max, which is 65.5k. But also for ED1, I am sure by the time I actually reach the max number of scales, I will also have 250 war spears and fishy treats. It is kind of interesting how I have 20 more fishy treats than I do war spears, but it'll be kind of fun to track those numbers as we go along. I'm not quite sure how I want to tackle trilogies. I'm thinking maybe something like a range setup and kind of take advantage of things like Jazz Dragonbane arrows, full arrows. Range is overall very competent DPS. I think it's some of the highest in game right now. Range can definitely hold its own in that right. The AoE is definitely there with chins. Mechanized Chins are very strong for AoE for those who don't know, whereas if you just equip them, all of your abilities will attack anything in a 3x3 area from your main target. I might go with a range setup, however magic is kind of the tried and true method, because some of the mobs in ED2 are kind of obnoxious to get the lures going for Chins to work properly. So honestly, I'm not quite sure. I might just build out a preset for each and just rotate through auras, but time will tell. So I think I'm gonna go run some trilogy runs, and I think for the next couple parts of this episode, I'm just gonna do some progress updates and update you as we're going along. If any drops show up, I'll record those. But I think I'm gonna go put together a couple trilogy presets, and I'll let you know what we come up with. And overall felt like a pretty decent session for trilogies though. What did I do? What was that, 4, 5? Another 500 mil just because I got double barged. 170 scales and 5 runs? What the? Only 34 draconic. That sounds about right. That's quite the lucky haul for 5 trilogies. I'll say that much. Alrighty, those trilogy runs went pretty well. Pretty happy with that. 550 mil and 5 runs. That's very, very nice to see, especially from a double barge codex and the decent amount of scales we got. However, that GP was shortly lived because a lot of my EOFs needed to be recharged. As you can see, most of them are pretty much in the green right now. There's one that's in the 60s, but I don't really use that one too much. But the rest of them pretty much are in the green, and also my elite tech needed to be repaired. I think all of these were on like 6 or 7% from doing Solak and a few other things, so that was not a cheap repair by any means. And to get back all the GP that I kind of spent on repairs, I went ahead and did some more ED1 by itself to just get some scale drops. We're now just kind of past 1350 solo, and I am over 20k scales. That's kind of a fun goal to go for. All right, if we can just be quiet for a second. 20k scales I just passed, I'd say about 4 or 5 days ago, and the goal is 65.5k eventually, you know, not like anytime soon. So these first few episodes of Trillionaire are probably going to have some form of ancient scale farming in them because it's still good GP, and I'd rather do it while it's still really good GP per hour, being that these things are like, I think still 1.1 mil each, so definitely worthwhile. But now I think it is time to move on to some Raksha, play along with some kills there, play with some different methods and whatnot. Hybrid is a kind of fun method, but I think I might hold off on hybrid. I did some experimenting again with mage range, got a decent PB. I don't remember if I mentioned it before, but the PB is now a 152.8, so that's pretty fun. But I think as far as hybrid is concerned, I'm going to wait until some of the Lang spec changes come into game for melee, as I would like to play with that in kind of a range melee hybrid setup. But for now, I'll probably just do style camps for all 3 combat styles, or just rotate the combat styles to make it easy on refreshes and stockpile those if I want to do some type of real degen grind coming up, which may or may not be happening soon. But yeah, let's go ahead and spam some Raksha, maybe send, I don't know, 10-20 hours here and see what happens. So, since that last clip, a lot of stuff has come into game. As you can see, we are in the new city, the city of which means that Necromancy has released. I have Necromancy gear on, I have runes that are new, the Spectral Shield is now part of the Necromancy armor set, and as you can tell, my cash stack has taken quite a hit from this skill. And it's been a long time since I've made episode 1, so I'm gonna do something now to try and correct the issue of spending too much GP on Necromancy. So what I'm gonna do to help fix this cash stack is I'm gonna issue myself a little bit of a challenge here. With Necromancy release, we got a new boss that gives new T95 armor and weapons, and I haven't really killed him too much yet. I was just kind of AFKing the skill. I was doing some of the first boss to try and get pets so I can finish the log there, but I should probably get on the second boss grind and get drops while they're still hot. And at the time of recording, it is Saturday, August 12th, so I'm gonna give myself until next Friday to get a bunch of drops and hit the 10 bill goal we originally had. I definitely had to put focus on some other stuff like guide making, but that can't be an excuse all the time for spamming out some GP, so let's go ahead and send it.
It's time for the moment you've been waiting for!
Hey, we got you. Let's go. Also, thanks, fam. Appreciate it. I try my best on guides. Hey! We got another offhand. Let's go. So, like, that... Oh. We got the pet. Oh, wow.
What's wrong with loading screens? Watch this. Watch this. Ka-chow.
Alright then.
Congrats.
Oh.
How much is that, like 10 mil now?
70. It's so low. Oh, Solak is dead in the water in prices.
Oh, no way, we got a Gricko. Wait, what? Yo. No way, dude, that's insane. No, well, stream's over, guys. That was it. I'm streaming to a Gricko today.
Alrighty, let's just get it out of the way. As you see, the cash stack sitting right around 7.5 bill, not quite the 10 bill mark I wanted to get for the end of this episode. However, I don't want this episode to drag on for too long. At the time of recording this, it is 1:41 a.m. Thursday the 17th, which is the deadline for this episode. I just recently opened up channel memberships, and channel members get to see videos a day early. That's kind of the perk that I offer for them, and I'll probably put them in the end credits as well, things like that. But we did make good progress on the boss nonetheless. If I just go over here to the collection log, we're at 681 kills. I just need the robe top and the foot wraps to finish off the collection log. I do remember pressing shadow play for all of these, but I guess they weren't going to locations. I can't find them anywhere on my PC, but the first drop we got was the offhand, and we did get it at 69 KC.
Nice.
Which I thought was a very good way to kick off this boss. So, what are the plans for the next episode, episode 3? Well, obviously, we are going to turbo send this cash stack into the stratosphere. I'm going to be focusing on this series a lot more. I want to make some really good progress on this. Guides will still be coming out, don't worry on those, but they are not going to be the forefront like they have been recently. So I want to finish up this collection log, and I really want to put a big ol' chunk into that scale. So we will probably finish up this collection log. I might even go back to Zammy and try and finish up this one real quick to get some extra GP. Maybe work on a couple of these logs for Golden Reaper, but the main one that I want to focus on for the next episode is just turbo sending my scale count up into outer space. I want to see this go up as high as I possibly can, and Necromancy seems to fit the bill with that. If we go into the armor tab here, I have the tank gear still. It's all T90 and it's perked up and whatnot. It's a lot of fun to use, and I've been saving the placeholders of the T95 gear as I get it, and I do plan on buying that sooner or later. I'm waiting for the prices to kind of stabilize and become normal. Right now they're all over the place and they are crashing a lot because there are many people farming this boss. And I will upgrade the weapons as well, and at 81, if you do it right, Necromancy can fast one cycle the crystals because of the incantation Invoke Death, which basically just instant kills something when it's below a certain HP threshold, which seems to be around the 20k life points mark. So it's basically like having a free set of mines on each of the crystals, plus you do get a set of Dominion mines as well for the start before your Living Death rotation. And so I have plans to do a kind of hybrid setup where I bring Necromancy for some of the parts of the dungeon, or maybe some stints of the boss, and maybe I'll bring melee or range or even magic to help take care of the rest of the dungeon run and the one cycle. And I'm going to give myself 1 month, so September 17th, to get this next episode out, and we are just going, I'm not even going to limit myself to a certain number or make a goal number. I'm just going to send this as far as humanly possible, because I feel like the GP gains, especially for the amount of time that this episode has been kind of setting on my recording drive, I definitely put it on the back burner. It was quite a daunting task, but I am here to absolutely send it and make a bunch of GP. So before I ramble on for another 20 or so minutes, let's go ahead and roll that outro. ladies, gentlemen, and I did not forget about you, crowns of loyalty. Thank you very much for watching. Your viewership is greatly appreciated. Have a wonderful morning, evening, afternoon, nighttime, whatever it is, wherever you are, and I will see you next time for the next video. Peace.